Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So today we're observing the Avirbhav. Avirbhav means the appearance of a great personality in this world. And that particular personality being Srila Maharaj, this is a day of his appearance in the year 1895. So that's quite a long time ago. A different age, different era.
Dneska oslavujeme takzvanou Avirbhavu. Avirbhava je zjevení velké osobnosti. Dneska ta velká osobnost je Srila Maharaj, který se zjevil v roce 1895, tak to už je nějaký jako kousek zpátky.
Of course, lots of people were born on this day all over the world.
V tenhle den se zjevilo samozřejmě hodně lidí na tomhle světě.
But their life may have been little or no consequence to any of us. Consequence means no importance to any of us. And so many thousands of people born on that day, they have made maybe possibly no visible contribution to humanity at all.
V tenhle den, když se narodilo mnoho tisíců lidí, tak pro nás to neměli jejich životy žádný význam, žádnou konsekvenci a ani jejich příspěvek lidstvu jako takovému byl buď nulový nebo nepatrný.
No, it's interesting in this ashram, it's quite unique than almost any other ashram that I have personally ever been to.
Tenhle ashram je taky jedinečný oproti jiným ashramům, který jsem já v životě už navštívil.
And that is because of the senior guidance or guardianship that we have, in that we have 3 param gurus of this ashram.
A to je díky těm vedoucím, kteří vedou ten ashram, těm acharům, a to je senior leadership od 3 osobností, takzvaní param guruové.
So a param guru means the guru before your guru.
Param guru znamená guru před tím guruem.
So somebody fall in the pond? The fish did that? Okay. The unique feature here is our 3 param gurus are all paramahamsas.
Jedinečný rys tady tohle ashramu je, že ti 3 param gurové jsou paramahamsové.
Paramahamsas are actually very rare. Paramahamsas are not an everyday, how are you today, thank you, hello, goodbye. You don't meet Paramahamsas every day.
Paramahamsa je velice vzácná a jedinečná osobnost, kterou nepotkáte každý den, že jo? Ahoj Paramahamso, jak se máš?
Even once in a life, to come in contact, meet, what to speak of, to receive training or to offer service to a Paramahamsa, this is very rare.
Dokonce jenom se setkat jedinkrát na krátký okamžik s Paramahamsou je velice vzácný a nemluvě o tom pak získat od něho nějaký učení nebo trénink nebo nějakou společnost nebo nabízet mu službu.
So this ashram, and this includes all of you, has 3 param gurus. Prabhupada, Srila Maharaj, Srila Puri Maharaj.
A ten ashram, který zahrnuje všechny vás, má 3 param guruji a to je Srila Prabhupada, Srila Maharaja a Puri Maharaj.
A number of the devotees, I don't think, other than Vishnu Maharaj, of course, saw Srila Prabhupada, Srila Maharaj, Srila Puri Maharaj. A few of the members of this ashram saw, served, and heard directly also from Srila Puri Maharaj.
Tady máme Vishnu Maharaja, který jako jediný teďka tady osobně vlastně viděl, znal všechny tady ty 3 paramgurové a pár členů tohoto ashramu taky osobně vidělo a sloužilo Puri Maharajovi.
So, I've observed a few things practical in spiritual life, ashram life. And the beginning is very easy to begin your spiritual life. You follow some rules, regulations, read some books, eventually receive initiation. All that's very nice, but all that's the beginning.
Já sám, jak pozoruju duchovní život, tak vidím, že na začátku se to zdá být velice jednoduché, dostaneš zasvěcení, začneš mít zájem, čteš knížky a všechno to vypadá jako velice jednoduché, ale to je všechno jenom začátek.
And the beginning of anything lacks experience.
Na Na začátku,
beginners in anything.
ať už začínáme s čímkoliv, tak nám chybí zkušenost.
If you study all the books and become a doctor, you have no experience. So therefore you have to do what's called internship. You have to practice your medicine under other doctors in a hospital. You're not simply a doctor because you studied medicine.
Ať už začínáš studovat cokoliv, ať je třeba medicína, tak můžeš studovat knížky, ale chybí tě ta realizace, ta zkušenost. Proto pak musíš praktikovat tu medicínu pod dozorem dalšího doktora, který už je realizovaný, a tak získáš ty zkušenosti.
The same with lawyers, dental profession, any profession, even carpentry. In some countries you have to be an apprentice carpenter. You cannot simply be a carpenter.
Stejný profesor, zubař nebo jenom truhlář. Nemůžeš být ten expertní truhlář, musíš taky být první trénink od někoho.
Every year thousands of young people leave the university, men and women, with their degrees, and they go to their place of employment and they are told, oh, very nice, you have so many nice degrees, but you have no experience.
Každý den tisíce vlastně promovaných lidí vychází s univerzitskými papírama, titulama, ale přijdou do svého zaměstnání a ti lidi jim řeknou, je krásně, že máš tolik titulů, ale nemáš vůbec žádnou praxi a zkušenost.
So experience we recognize as a very valuable commodity, and it is not always or even easy that you will come across people with proper experience.
Realizace zkušenosti je velice vzácná věc a není to jednoduchý vůbec se dostat do kontaktu s lidmi, kteří tuhle pravou realizaci mají.
With the beginning, you can have knowledge. You can learn verses. You can speak so many things of high knowledge, but you may not have realization of any of them. For example, how do you know Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? How do you know that Krishna is God?
Na začátku můžeš nějaký poznání, ale ve skutečnosti nevíš. To je příklad, že se budu nás ptát, jak víte, že Krishna
Interesting
je
question.
božství. To je otázka, jak víte, že Krishna je nejvyšší Bůh.
So how would you answer that, Vaishnavananda? How would you answer that? How do you know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God, or Krishna is God, Bhagavan? How do you know that?
No, I did hear the answer to that.
You did hear that. So heard you hear that from some kid in the street driving a rickshaw? From me, I think you heard it before me, but you heard it from persons wiser than ourselves.
Takže pravdivý odpovídá, že to slyšel, že už nevím, všechno mluvil od koho si, od rukšáku, nebo tak, ne, já jsem to slyšel od vás, jo, možná jste to slyšeli dřív už, ale je to pravda, že nasloucháme od někoho, kdo je chytřejší než my, kdo je moudřejší než my. Od něho to slyším.
Knowledge you can hear from anyone. They can just repeat something from a book. That is knowledge.
Poznání může kdokoliv opakovat z knihy, to je poznání.
But wisdom or vijnana, realization, is the maturity of knowledge.
Ale moudrost, vigyána, realizace, to je ta skutečná hodnota poznání, to je ta zralost.
And that only matures through experience.
To se vztahuje pouze ke zkušenosti.
It does not mature in the beginning. It is not possible. There is no such thing as a mature beginner.
Neexistuje něco jako zralý začátečník, proto na začátku ta zkušenost musí zákonitě chybět.
That'd be like an oxymoron or whatever they call that, a ripe green mango. It's like they're opposite. They're not compatible. They don't come together.
Dává srovnání s mankem, nějaký mango nezralý a zralý, že to nemůže být.
So to have even one such experienced teacher in Krishna consciousness is rare. And to have two or three is, well, what we call off the charts. It is so rare. It is beyond rare. It just doesn't happen all the time. It's very, very rare.
Že potkat takovou osobnost, která má právě realizaci ve vědomí Krišny, v dnešní době velice, velice vzácný, můžeme říct tak vzácný, že je téměř nemožný se s ním setkat.
So that is the unique feature of this ashram, that we take and we have the blessing, the guidance, and the advantage of having three Paramahansas to guide us in our life's experience of Krishna consciousness.
To je jedinečný rys tohoto ashramu, že máme tyhle tři paramgury, paramahansové, které nás vedou v našem duchovním životě, v našem cíli.
Now it's been almost 40 years, closing in on 40 years, whatever the years, 38, 39 years since the disappearance of Srila Prabhupada. That's a long time. That's more than some of you have been alive.
Že se blíží 40. výročí odchodu Srily Prabhupády a to je velice dlouhá doba, někteří ani tak dlouho ještě nežijí.
How old are you, Advaita?
Jak jsi starý?
32.
Tobě
So
32.
Prabhupada was gone 6 years before he was born in this world.
6 let,
So that's a long time.
když se Prabhu narodil, tak už Prabhupád odešel.
Now, once I was in an argument, that's an argument, let's call it a spirited conversation with a brother.
Jednou jsem měl takovou žhavou konverzaci se svým duchovním bratrem.
In other words, we were arguing.
Jinými slovy, my jsme se hádali, nebo argumentovali.
And, he was trying to make some point that first you hear from Sridhara Maharaj, and then 10 years later you hear from Srila Puri Maharaj. What I see is you're not fixed, you're not steady, you're not satisfied, you're simply jumping.
On se mě snažil říct.
So I argued, well, at least I'm listening to somebody.
Já jsem říkal, aspoň nasloucháš někomu.
And you've been completely alone for the last 40 years listening to your own mind.
Ale ty jsi úplně sám od té doby, co odešel Prabhupád, 40 let jsi sám se svou myslí.
And similar so-called authorities who may only know even half as much and have even less wisdom than you do. In other words, no amount of ignorance produces knowledge. So if you have 20 or 30 people in a room with no knowledge and no wisdom, and at the end of, 2 weeks of meeting, you still have that many ignorant people in a room. All amount of ignorance doesn't produce knowledge.
A takzvané autority, které si zvolíte, těch máte 20 nebo 30 a jednou, dvakrát do roka se setkají v jedné místnosti, neznamená, že budeme nějaké poznání, ani poloviční poznání, nevyprodukuje skutečné poznání, ale ve skutečnosti jsou nevědomí a nevědomost nikdy nevyprodukuje poznání.
So I said, no doubt, I'm a very small person, a very small man, a very small living entity. But my advantage is my guardians. They are not small little entities in this world. They're very big entities in this world, very prominent spiritual entities in this world. And my advantage is I've had their lessons, their guidance, their correction. And my brother is basically saying, oh, we haven't been wrong in 40 years. And it's like, you haven't been wrong in 40 years. You haven't been right for 1 year in that 40 years. That's how lost you are. And that's what it comes down to. That without the guidance of Sridhar Maharaj and without the guidance of Srila Puri Maharaj, pretty much the Western Vaishnava world is at a loss. And the paths which people are making are everything including even bizarre. And what they claim to be and explore in the name of Krishna consciousness.
Takže já jsem mu odpověděl, že ano, já jsem možná malý člověk, nepatrný a to, ale moje výhoda je, že mám ty velké áčarve, speciální Sridhar Maharaja, který mě učil, kterého jsem bral vedení a který mě korigoval. Že jo, ale vy prostě za těch 40 let jste neměli nikoho a ve skutečnosti celých 40 let jste úplně mimo. Nikdo vás nekorigoval, nevíte nic a nebyl Sridhar Maharaj, Puri Maharaj, celý západní vajšnavský svět by byl vámi tak ovlivněn, že všichni by byli šílení a dneska můžeme vidět, že hodně věcí je bizární, velice bizární, takže to je něco, prostě co já jsem mu takhle tím způsobem vysvětlil.
So Sridhar Maharaj, today is his appearance day, so speaking something about him. He was born in 1895, and Prabhupada 1896, and Sridhar Maharaj 1897. So they were born in 3 consecutive years, all in that same time, same generation, same all worldly experience. They come from the same world, same city actually, or the same state, Bengal.
Je zajímavé, že všichni 3 parangurové, budeme dneska mluvit o Sridhar Maharajovi, se narodili ve 3 po sobě jdoucích letech i dokonce ve stejném státu, jako je Bengálsko, to bylo v letech 95, 96, 97 respektivně.
You know, here in India, when a kid goes to public school, they study Sanskrit up to, what is it, 6th standard? Up to the first 6 years in public school, everybody studies Sanskrit in this country, whole country. Because Sanskrit is the basis of all the languages, and Sanskrit also being the language of the Shastra. Now everybody studies Sanskrit for the first 6 years.
V Indii je sanskrit brán jako základ všech jazyků a základ části, proto každý dítě, který jde do školy, studuje sanskrit jako povinně prvních 6 let a v té školní docházce.
And through the study of Sanskrit, Sridhar Maharaj, from the earliest age, he took interest in Shastra.
Sridhar Maharaj velice vzal zájem prostě o šástru, velice ho to nadchlo už v tom malém věku, v tom raném věku.
And in general, when he was older, going to school, you know, and going to college, university, he studied philosophy.
A když se pak dostal na univerzitu ve starším věku, tak se pohroužil do studia filozofie.
He studied philosophy of not only India's great philosophers, but of the great philosophers of Europe also. Hegel, Tolstoy, there's a whole big list of them. Various philosophers after the Renaissance period. He studied them also.
Ale ne pouze indické filozofie, ale celosvětové filozofie. Víme, že studoval třeba Hegel, Tolstoy a jiný filozofii evropský po renesanční době.
So every once in a while lecturing or speaking, Sridhar Maharaj would say something, and it would be so distinct from his time period as a young man. The examples, for example, that he would give to make a point, or he would sometimes quote a European philosopher. I think it's fair to say that Hegel, the German philosopher, was amongst Sridhar Maharaj's favorite Western philosophers. Hegel.
Proto to kázání Sridhar Maharaj bylo tak jedinečný a speciální, že on často citoval ve svém kázání jako mladý Vaishnava i tady tyhle ty západní filozofie a nejvíc populární byl pro něho Hegel, který velice často citoval tady toho německého filozofa.
Hegel had a saying in German, Sterben und sie leben. I have it written here on my arm. Sterben und sie leben. It means die to live.
Hegel má v němčině slogan Sterben und zu leben, což znamená zemři, abys žil.
So that's a saying. Nowadays, that's a very, oh, wow, it sounds like suicide bombers. Die to live.
Když někdo slyší, si říká, to je nějaký výzva k sebevraždě.
But it speaks of something higher. There has to be the death of ignorance in order for there to be the birth of knowledge. There has to be the death of ego before there can be the birth of freedom. There are many things in which this Sterben und sie leben, it applies to that. And Sridhar Maharaj felt, this also applies to Krishna consciousness, that we have to give up everything in order to achieve Krishna.
Tady tohle heslo má ve skutečnosti v sobě zahrnutý mnohem vyšší koncepty, jako je, že člověk se musí vzdát nevědomosti, aby získal moudrost a vzdát se svého ega, aby získal svobodu. A pak jak Sridhar Maharaj v tom uviděl i Krishna vědomí, že viděl, abys mohl dosáhnout Krishna, musí se vzdát úplně všeho.
The most important thing we have to give up, of course, most people in the world say you have to give everything to Krishna. Immediately. They're going for my wallet, you know. The most important thing is our ego. To surrender our ego. Now by ego, I mean ahankara, false ego. The false ego, which binds all of us in various degrees. Even me. Remember, I'm small. Little devotee. With big ego. Big ego. But the ego is what stands between us and Krishna more than anything else. False ego. Now what is the primary focus of false ego? Well, in the beginning, say for the world, false ego, I'm this body. Oh, this is false ego. This is false identity.
První věc falešný ego, to vlastně znamená, že si řeknu, asi tohle tělo, to je falešný koncept identity.
Well, devotees don't think I am the body, or at least they shouldn't be, you see. and especially after 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years, certainly a practicing Vaishnava is not thinking, I am this body. Correct?
Údajně by si neměli myslet, ale že jsou tohle tělo a definitivně po 10, 20, 40, 50 letech by neměli se stotožňovat s tím tělem, že jo? Nemyslí si tak.
But still, even after many years of practice and so forth, one may have the unfortunate habit to put I first. I want this, I that, I first, you first, me first, I first. This is a symptom of ego, false ego.
A na neštěstí po mnoha letech oddanosti dáváme svoje já do popředí a první jsme já a pak teprve ostatní a to je taky jako falešný ego, to je problém.
And this stands in the way of cooperation with Krishna.
To nám brání v kooperaci s Krišnou.
In this world, it can spell out in just ego, say in an ashram or whatever, in standing in the way of the progress of the preaching, of even getting the job done, so to speak. Ego can enter in and interfere with the service, but still we'll be given a chance to do that service with our ego in this world.
Takže ego nám brání i vykonávat správně oddanou službu a vstupuje pak do té možnosti správně sloužit té misi, těm projektům nebo čehokoliv, co po nás Kršna žádá. Ale i tak, když to ego máme, nám dá napřed, to sloužit i s tím egem.
But false ego must be completely absent to enter the eternal world of service, to enter the spiritual world where Krishna is surrounded by his liberated associates, where his devotees eternally. No false ego can be present there.
Aby člověk mohl vstoupit do té věčné úrovni vykonávání oddané služby na věčné úrovni, duchovní úrovni, kde je Krishna na společnosti, falešné ego nemůže být zastoupeno ani miliontinou, musí být zcela absentováno.
So here we can serve Krishna, we can begin to serve Krishna under the guidance of Vaishnavas, Guru, and Shastra. We can learn to serve Krishna even though we are not perfectly suited to serve Krishna. We may have ego, we may have false desire, we may have so many things. Krishna knows what we have better than we know what we have. He knows everything. In this world we practice Krishna consciousness. And with false ego, even desire, so many desires, one can begin the practice. But service to Krishna in the spiritual world is not a practice. It is not a practice. It is a living thing. It is a spontaneous thing. And it is the painting of the nature of the heart. The nature of the heart.
Tady tohle cvičení, tohle trénink, tohle praxe, kterou postupujeme v tomhle světě, aby jsme se vzdali postupně tady těch falešných konceptů a ega a všech těch tužeb, ale v duchovním světě to už není praxe a cvičení, to už je velice spontánní projev našeho srdce, velice žijící, dynamický projev čisté lásky.
In order for there truly to be spontaneous love, there has to be no ego, no false, what we call false ego.
Pro tu úroveň spontánní rodné služby tam nesmí být žádný falešný ego.
So, what is then the real ego? If the false ego is I'm this body and I, what then is real ego? Is there not I in real ego? Should I never say I am, or should I never say that? Is there, so what does it do? How to discriminate real ego from false ego?
Co potom teda znamená skutečné ego, když mluvíme o falešném egu, tak jak poznáme, co je skutečné ego, když už teda se zbavíme falešného ega, to už nikdy nebudeme říkat já, nebo jak to definujeme, jak to poznáme.
So false ego is followed by illusion. I am the body, that's an illusion.
Falešné ego následuje iluzi.
I am the boss, I am controller. There's so many things after the I am which are not true, they're illusion.
Já jsem šéf, já jsem kontrolor, já jsem konatel, všecko tohle je iluze.
So real ego is followed by reality.
A skutečné ego následuje realitu.
It is followed by self-realization.
Seberealizace.
It is the next breath. When false ego is gone, self-realization is there immediately afterwards.
To je ten další dech, když falešný ego odejde, okamžitě přichází seberealizace.
And then the devotee thinks and says and practices always, I am servant of Krishna. I am servant of Guru. I am servant of the Vaishnavas. I am servant of Shastra. Everything is preceded by dasya, servant.
Takže pak tam začíná, ano, já, ale já jsem služebník. Služebník Krišny, služebník Gurua, služebník Vaishnavu, služebník Šástry, všecko je tam o služebnictví.
And it is the servant, free from false ego, who has the key to all Vedic knowledge, all Vedic wisdom, and self-realization. It is not the learned scholar. They don't have the key.
A je to služebník bez falešného ega, který dostane klíč a pokladu veškeré védské moudrosti a duchovní realizace. Nejsou to ti panditové učenci.
It is the servant. And there are many examples throughout what we call Puranic history and stuff, such, how it is the servant who is shown to be the most advanced or the senior disciple in so many various situations. It is the most humble, and who is the servant who has the greater realization, not who is the best student of the study, so to speak. There are many examples.
Puranická historie a védské dějiny nám ukazují tolik mnoho příkladů, kdy právě ten nejpokornější služebník toho mistra se ukázal jako ten, kdo má největší realizace, a ne ten člověk, který byl nejlepší žák, měl nejlepší vědomosti, nejlepší poznání, nejlepší paměť, ale ten, který byl nejlepší služebník.
Now let me introduce your mortal enemy at this time, Maya. It's not Al-Qaeda, it's not ISIS, it's not the tax department, it's not a corrupt prime minister. Our mortal, what is that enemy, is Maya. In other words, we have to fight Maya and become free from Maya.
Náš smrtelný nepřítel je pouze Maya, to je Maya, proti kterému musíme bojovat, ne proti skorumpované vládě nebo daním a nepřátelům v rodině a tak dále, ale je to Maya samotná.
Maya follows the false ego. She is a hair, just a breath away. In fact, they're synonymous. False ego and Maya, they're synonymous.
Falešné ego a Maya to jsou synonyma, oni patří k sobě neodlučitelně.
So a devotee is constantly reminding himself, I am servant, I am servant, I am servant, I am servant. And in this way, one is escaping Maya at every thought. I am servant, I am servant. And then acting in that way. One easily escapes Maya.
Tímhle způsobem dokáže odejít od Máje, dokáže se uvolnit z Máje, že se neustále opakuje, já jsem služebník, já jsem služebník, jsem služebník, služebníka.
So when you're besieged by Maya, what to do? Sit down and chant? Well, that's where a lot of people get into Maya. You understand? Sitting down and chanting is an advanced devotional activity. It's not something children do very well.
Když vás dostane Mája, co budete dělat, sednete si, budete čantovat. Právě to, když si sednete, budete dělat, to je způsob, jak vás Mája dostane. Že to je velice pokročilá úroveň rodné služby, to není něco, co dělají děti.
But it's recommended you do chanting also, but even better, pick yourself up and do some service. Engage yourself in some service, and you will find out that you can escape the Maya a lot more easily.
Mnohem lepší, než to je zaměstnat se v praktické službě a sloužit. Takže to je způsob, jak se vyhneš a uvolníš od Máji, mnohem jednodušší způsob, než se pokoušet zpívat a takhle stranit Máji.
You might remember this example, Panchatattva, of the devotee is, they used to tell an example, a devotee sitting in the temple room chanting, Hare Krishna, chanting their japa. So this mantra, Prabhupada once said, it is like a prayer, oh Lord, please engage me in your service. Oh Krishna, oh Radha, please engage me in your service. It's a repetitive, in other words, that should be our feeling while chanting the name of Krishna. Please engage me in your service.
Tady je příklad, že oddaný sedí v templu a zpívá Hare Krishna Mahamantru a pokud by měli správný jako koncepce postoje, jak Prabhupáda vysvětluje, že zpíváme o rádo, o Krishnu, to znamená ta Maha mantra, zaměstnejte mě ve své oddané službě, zaměstnejte mě ve své službě a tohle by mělo být naše vědomí, když zpíváme.
So someone, usually in those days, they called him the temple commander, they come and they see you there, they say, oh, Girish, can you come and help roll some chapatis?
No a když ten bhakta zpívá v tom templu a to, tak pak přijde jeden jiný bhakta, kterému se říká temple commander a vytáhne ho z té džapy a řekne, pojď sem, Girish, že říká, potřebujeme někoho, kdo nám pomůže válet čapáty.
And then Girish says, I'm chanting my rounds, Prabhu.
Ale ten bhakta odpověděl, neruš mě, zpívám své svatý jména.
And what is that? Oh Lord, please engage me in your service. Oh Krishna, please engage me in your service. No, I'm busy chanting right now. Service knocks on your door, and you know I'm busy. So one thing is, whenever you're offered service, take it.
Z Krishnovy kuchyně přišel přímo jako, že reprezentant jeho zaměstnán v Krishna službě, on se modlí o službu, ale pak mu řekne, že já nechci, protože já chantuju. To je vidět, jak je to protichůdný.
It's safer to take the service. It may be the very answer to your prayer. Krishna is sending service, and then you're saying, no, I'm still busy asking.
Krishna odpovídá na tvé volání, ty žádáš, dej mi službu, a pak někdo přijde a dává ti službu, když nechci.
Well, that might seem oversimplistic and childish, but it works. It works. To build a favorable service attitude, to always be willing to give service, to give energy. For the brahmacharis and things, little things happen in the ashram. Some will go, I can't find my dhoti, I need a dhoti, and then and everybody thinks, I got 4, but I need them all. And they like keep a dhoti or a thing like that. But Krishna could be testing you. He knows how many dhotis you have stacked up in your Elmira. He knows how many saris you have and how many wool chudders you have and all these neat things you have. And so suddenly one day somebody doesn't have one. But Krishna knows you do, and you heard that person say, I don't have whatever. And the opportunity for you to go and give something. And not the one you don't use, the one that's cheap, that you got at some cheap function in Vrindavan or something. No, Krishna wants to see you grab the one on the top, the one you like the most, and wants to see you give that to somebody else. With love and affection, no attachment. What does it mean not to be attached and not to keep things with you? You keep the things you're attached to, you give away the things you're unattached to. So give away the things you're attached to. Then you better grab your wallet. Because people can give away everything except their money. Money is the honey. Yeah?
Takhle přichází možnost udržovat si ten služebnický postoj neustále jsem vědomí a Krishna určitě dává příležitosti, jak to realizovat. Právě proto, když jsme připomněli, tohle je prostě možnost pro nás, stejně jako nakonec přijde na naši peněženku a lidi budou dávat všechno, ale peníze si budou schovávat a budou dávat nějak málo.
So the most beneficial thing we can do, 2 things. We can offer service to the Vaishnavas, to our Guru, and we can offer submissive hearing. We can hear from them submissively. Submissively means without argument. And argument comes from ego, false ego. If you have no false ego, then you will not argue. If you have your own opinion, which is yours, that's yours, ego again, then you may argue. So the direction is one has to give submissive inquiry to the message which comes from Sri Guru Dev. That enables one to reach deeper into that message, even to the very source of that message. But unsubmissiveness, argument, resentment in the mind is like a roadblock. It stops. We cannot enter that instruction unless we have submissiveness.
Důležité je, že děláme nějakou službu pro naši Gurudeva, ale ještě důležitější je naučit se naslouchat s pokorou. Naučit se naslouchat bez toho, že furt máme, když nám něco říká, ale když jsme měli furt nějaký argument, furt se snažili něco vysvětlovat proti tomu. Takže poslouchat učení devocionální je důležitý mít ten postoj pokory a to nám umožní, takhle, když budeme naslouchat, vstoupit dovnitř a získat tu realizaci. Že pokud nebudeme mít ten správný postoj a udržíme si pořád to své falešné ego, že argument znamená já vím lépe nebo já vím jinak falešně, tak nás to nepustí pro realizaci té skutečné duchovné poznání, zůstaneme za blokádou venku.
Now, some people will understand submissive inquiry and submissive listening to be the same as blind following and no thinking.
To pokorné dotazování se a pokorné naslouchání někdo zvenku může analyzovat a definovat jako slepý následovnictví.
Nothing could be worse in Krishna consciousness than blind following and no thinking.
Ale nemůže být ve skutečnosti nic horšího v Krishna vědomí než slepý následování a nemyslet, nepoužívat mozek.
For the Bengali or the Sanskrit, I figure it's utishta, utishta. Wake up! What happens when you wake up? The first thing you do, wake up, open your eyes. Think. That is Krishna consciousness. Not, I don't know anything, I can't think, I have no thinking, I ask no questions, I just follow blindly and accept whatever I've heard. That is not good for Krishna consciousness. That is not the goal in Krishna consciousness. That is never the goal of any relation between a guru and disciple, small or big. That the disciple should be blind in his faith and his following and no ability to think for himself. That is just the opposite of what Krishna consciousness is meant to be in society. Everyone should be alert, trained to think, and not blind in any way. Yesterday we were talking about some of the things of the world that go on in the world, all the things to do with food, environment, politics, medicine, all this stuff. The devotee should not be blind to the world. The devotee should be aware. It's Gyan and Vigyan. One should know about this world and transcendental knowledge side by side. That is what the Upanishads say. One should know this world and transcendental knowledge side by side.
To bengalské přísloví, který Guru zmínili, utišta, vstávej, probud se, začni myslet. To je přesný opak toho, než někteří oddaní praktikují, že nemyslej, že já nemusím myslet, já jsem hloupej a všecko za mě udělá Guru, on za mě myslí a budu jenom slepě následovat a budu jenom strojově následovat, takže to je v žádném případě není Krishna vědomí. To je velice falešný koncept a Govindaji dál vysvětloval, jak je důležitý právě naopak myslet a mít svůj vlastní názor a své vlastní pochopení a zároveň to s pokorou diskutovat, konzultovat, dotazovat se a harmonizovat to s Krishna vědomím. Takže tohle je důležité. Včera jsme taky s váma mluvili hodně věcí ohledně světa a kontaminací jídla a ovzduší a tohle všechno je dobrý věc, že oddaný není naivní, není slepý, následovník dobře ví, co se děje. Takže my musíme znát to, co se děje ve světě a znát úroveň transcendentální poznání, ruku v ruce, chápat celý ten obrázek.
In the thinking, when thinking is awake, eventually there's going to be questions also. Questions are important. Without questions, there wouldn't even be a Srimad Bhagavatam. And none of these books would even exist if there wasn't some question. Question of life itself is a question.
Proto otázka je taky velice důležitá. Bez otázek by nebyla Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Samotný život je o otázce.
Prabhupada asked that question one day on a morning walk. How do you know Krishna is the supreme being? How do you know Krishna is God?
Prabhupada se zeptal na tuhle otázku jednou na své ranní procházce svým žákům. Jak vlastně víte, že Krishna je nejvyšší osobnost božství?
Well, one devotee said, the Shastra says so. And Prabhupada said, there's so many books in the world. Some say Krishna is God, some say Jesus is God, some say Allah is God. You know. He said, how do you know? Because it says so in a book. He didn't accept that. That's not the answer.
Jeden odpověděl, že to je v šástře a Prabhupád mu na to reagoval, argumentoval, že je tolik různých knih, někteří říkají, že Krishna je Bůh, někteří říkají, že Shiva, někteří, že Ježíš, tolik mnoho knih, tak jako neuznal to jako odpověď. Říkal, jak ty víš, jak ty skutečně víš, že Krishna je Bůh.
So another devotee said, but you told us, Prabhupada. And he said, I might be lying.
Další René říkal, ale vy jste nám to řekl, Prabhupáda.
Now, he was looking for a certain particular answer. That's very valid. You know, the wisdom of, and you put your faith in that. And that is the first step of knowing, of course. But then someone said, I know it in my heart. And Prabhupada said, yes, that is the answer.
Pak někdo odpověděl, já to vím ze svého srdce. A on řekl, ano, to je ta odpověď.
Now, all the Jews, all the Muslims, all the ISIS, everybody will raise their hand and go, I know it in my heart.
Všichni muslimové, křesťaní a židi, ale zvednou své ruce, řeknou, ale já to taky vím ze svého srdce.
Here we could enter into a little philosophical discussion about those who are under the influence of false ego do not know their heart. They do not know what is in their heart. If you are in Maya and you are in false ego, you don't know what's in your heart, so you couldn't possibly know in your heart unless you were free from false ego.
Pokud člověk není prostý falešního ega, tak nemůže znát svoje srdce, tak bychom se mohli tady s těma lidma dostat do filozofické argumentace, co vlastně si myslí, že je jejich srdce, a zjistíme, že vůbec neví, že neznají svoje srdce, že neznají sami sebe, že si jenom myslí, že to ví ze srdce, že to je taky jako součástí máji.
Like once I was talking with a person at a university about 35 or 40 years ago, and the person says, we're talking, and he goes, I realized the truth. And he pointed to his head. And then I said something like, the truth of Krishna is not here, it's here. It's not here. In the intellect, in the brain, all these things. It's here, meaning it's in the heart. It's deeper than the brain. It's deeper than the mind. It's deeper than any of the senses. We say it's the heart, and if you do an x-ray, it's just a single boom, boom, boom. When that thing actually has nothing to do with what we're talking about. When we say the heart, we're talking about the heart of the soul, the very core of our eternal existence inside us, not just inside the chest cavity, inside the us. Of course, it can be fun, the mind, philosophy, knowledge, and all this. And Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he used to have quite the fun time of it, playing in the head. He could argue any point, complete atheism. He could argue complete atheism, there is no God, and you would go, yeah, there is no God, there is no atheism. And then Mahaprabhu would say, but we could look at it this way, and he'd argue the whole thing in an opposite direction and totally convince you, oh, well, of course there's a God. And you will go, oh, well, of course there is. And he used to debate both sides of arguments and win both sides, leaving the people just... He played with knowledge and the mind as a child plays with clay, molding it in whatever way he wants. So that can be a little bit fun. But the heart is where the truth is spoken the loudest and where it remains forever, not the brain.
Hrát si se svým myslí, inteligencí a intelektem, rozumem může být velká zábava. Viděli jsme v raných zábavách, či ten má problém, když hrál roli dělajího pandita logika, tak byl schopný vysvětlit, že neexistuje Bůh a všichni to přijali, a za chvilku to vysvětlil z jiného zdroje a vysvětlil, že existuje Bůh a všichni to přijali, a mohl si tím takhle hrát s těma lidskýma myslema, protože tohle je schopnost jako logiky a argumentace. Ale ve skutečnosti ta realizace není tady v hlavě, ale je v srdci, které to myslí, že to je.
So we're gonna just kind of wind it down, this class at this point from here. Number one reason is Panchatattva has been sick for a couple days, and it's obviously a little strenuous sitting here translating and everything like that. So I'm going to end the talk but leave you with this request, that the special feature of being connected to this ashram in any way, shape, and form is paramount Srila Sridhara Maharaj. So please, if you are here always, or here in the sense that you're just part of our group and you're another part of the country, please do not neglect the opportunity to hear and take guidance from Srila Sridhar Maharaj in the form of his books, lectures that we have, even videotapes. You will find there a wealth of self-realization, a wealth to guide you to your greatest fortune. Like you can't find it in such condensed form in any other place in Vaishnava literature at this time. And we have in Czech several books, right? Srila Maharaj's books. These are not like, oh yeah, I read that like a newspaper. No. Shri Guru and His Grace, I read it 100 times. I might just go read it again. It's not something, oh yeah, I know. No. This knowledge it's like a massage. Every time you engage with that knowledge, it just takes you a little bit deeper, a little more purification, a little more clarified understanding. But if, say, you're not doing that, then I'm not sure you're really here. I would have to say that. A person who is in our mission and in this ashram, who has not focused on the advantage of hearing from our guardian, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, I would have to say that person is actually not with us. Might be here physically, but they're not here spiritually. That is how important. If a person comes here and says, oh, I'm a disciple of Prabhupada, I'm your god brother, I'm your god sister, I love you, I want to join this ashram, I'd say, not good enough. You've overlooked Srila Sridhar Maharaj. If you're not interested in Sridhar Maharaj, there's no point to be in this ashram. It is like the soul of this ashram. And what I'm speaking about was, I was 20 years member of ISKCON, 3 times initiated by Srila Prabhupada, and a whole bunch of other things in between, position and all types of things. Why did I leave that? Why did I leave that? For what? Because I want to be my own boss or something? No. On the contrary. No. Why did I leave that? I left that for Srila Sridhar Maharaj, for that guidance, for that security, for that deeper understanding, for his mercy. I left. And so without that, there's no meaning to this ashram for actually any of you either. It's paramount here. Once I was visited by, the ISKCON GBC and everything, and I said, it's as simple as this. Accept this, I come home tomorrow. Simple as that. Accept this, I come home tomorrow. Minus this, I will stay and die on the street if necessary. Because the truth is out here. The truth is not the property of an institution or any group of people. The truth is the prisoner of a free heart, of the pure devotees. They have Krishna. The rest of us are just begging. Maybe a glimpse, maybe a drop. But they have Krishna. So no amount of association of those who have no Krishna can help you gain Krishna at all. Nothing. Only bhakti gives bhakti, only Krishna gives Krishna, and only one who has Krishna consciousness can give Krishna consciousness. It is not a mechanical process that you can just learn by doing a certain number of chantings or certain types of meditations and all these things, and then you will just be Krishna conscious. It doesn't work. It's based on Shraddha, faith, surrender, and surrender means, Saranagati, giving up this false ego, which is our greatest obstacle in spiritual life. And I'll give you a subtle point. One day you will come, maybe you'll give lectures, you will give lectures. And then you will ask somebody, oh, how was the talk? Right? And that means you want to hear your own glorification of your talk of Krishna. And that's a little bit of more contamination. You want to hear how good your talk was. How was my talk? He said, that is a Maya false ego. Krishna lies just beyond that. Even give up the little bit of false ego that you want to feel praise. You want to hear your own praises. No, I'm guilty of that all the time. Maybe later I'll say to Jayade, so how was the talk? Was anything spoken of any benefit to anybody? And something. And I can see that also in myself. asking for the approval, is, the opinion, like, is just looking for a little bit of, it's like passing by the artist and saying, "Oh, nice painting, Mata." It's kind of, "Oh, thank you," a little pat on the back. Well, you don't have to be worried about such fine points right now, but after 50 years of this Krishna consciousness, I'm concerned about the fine points. Not the just 4 regular principles and how many rounds I chanted or how many books I sold. After 50 years, I'm looking a little deeper. I want to know the truth of myself and how truthful I am with this process. And personally, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little carried away, but personally, truthfulness is something which will serve you well. Try to be truthful about yourself. And the guru who thinks I am guru, is guru. You know what guru means? Cow. The guru who thinks he's guru is a cow. One of my friends went to Srila Puri Maharaj and said, in South Africa, I'm guru. And he started to say something, and Puri Maharaj told him, "Don't think like that. Don't think like that." What was he thinking? I am guru. Guru never thinks I am guru. Guru thinks I am servant of my guru. And one who thinks he is guru becomes goru, becomes a cow. Want to summarize the last part of that?
Beginning was more applying to our devotees, so
That's all right.
repeat all or
As you
later.
like. As you like.
Guru Maharaj teďka se rozpovídal trošku díl, ale prostě tak synopsik ta věc je, že chce, aby jsme využili toho ashramu tady a soustředili se nejenom dneska na Sridhara Maharaje, jeho učení, ale prakticky každý, kdo je v tomhle ashramu nebo v celé misi a není spojený se Sridhara Maharajem, tak není v této misi a není v tomhle ashramu. To znamená, když nečteme jeho knihy, nediskutujeme o filozofii, dokonce v češtině je přeložených 5 knih a není to jako, že to přečtete jako magazín a já už jsem to četla a to, ale nežijete to, neznáte tu filozofii, tak je to o ničem. Jo, a pak postupně vlastně přišel zase k tomu postoji, kdy ten Sridhar Maharaj je velice vznešená osobnost, která se dostala do života Guru Maharaje. Guru Maharaj byl v Iskonu 20 let a byl zasvěcený Prabhupádou poprvé, po druhé, po třetí sannyas a měl tam pozice a různé manažerské možnosti a všecko opustil. A proč to opustil? Aby udělal si svoji misi a byl sám svým bosem, ne aby získal Sridhar Maharaj, šel za Sridhar Maharajem, nevzal od něho učení. Takže udělal to pro něho, pro Sridhar Maharaje. A když mu řekl, že
For a minute, I want to point out one thing. But Prabhupada was born the day after Krishna. Means Janmashtami. Next day is Prabhupada's appearance day. Well, in relation to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, today is his appearance day, and last night, yesterday, was the appearance of Radha Kund.
Včera bylo zjevení Radha Kundu a my mluvíme dneska o zjevení Sridhar Maharaje.
So, Radhastami is Radharani's official appearance day, but Radha Kund is considered non-different from Srimati Radharani. So, in a sense, spiritual sense, this yesterday is also the appearance day of Radharani in the form of Radha Kund. And Sridhar Maharaj is born the day after. So this is significant.
Radhaštami je oficiální den zjevení Šrimati Rádiky, ale protože Radha Kund se neliší od Šrimati Radharani i Bahulaštami neboli zjevení Šri Radha Kundu se považuje za zjevení Šrimati Radharani, proto je velice významný taky vypíchnout ten bod, že Bhakti Sridhar Maharaj se zjevuje hned po Radharani, den potom.
So someone will say, well, I remember I said many people born the day after Janmashtami, but only one of those people in the whole world then spread Krishna consciousness, throughout Africa, South America, Middle East, pretty much everywhere, Russia, everywhere. So then what is the significance? Sridhar Maharaj is born the day after Radharani. What did he do in relation to Radharani that's so significant? That's the question.
Víme, že Srila Prabhupád se narodil den po Krišnovi, po Janmaštami a jeho schopnost a speciální atribut, že byl schopen rozšířit právě Krišna vědomí po celém světě do všech částí světa. A moje otázka teď bude, když se tady Sridhar Maharaj narodil den po Radhaštami, jaká je jeho vznešený atribut ve vztahu k Radharani.
In the beginning, everyone will agree. Everyone can agree on basic points. God is great. Allahu Akbar, right? The jihadis are yelling Allahu Akbar and chopping off heads. Christians are yelling, God is great. Everybody can agree on that level. But then the question, well, who are we talking about? Who is God? Things go up and you start to get different. But when you finally come all the way up to the top, it's Krishna. We have still plenty of people to argue with. In India, there are many branches that believe in Krishna. And we have differences with those groups also. Because there the question becomes not who is God, but who is the greatest servant of God. That becomes the point of contention or to be understood. Who is the greatest servant of God?
Na začátku každý souhlasí s tím, že Bůh je velký, jak muslimové říkají, křičí Allah Akbar, džihadisti nebo protizky křesťaní, tak to je samozřejmě jasný pro všechny, ale potom bude diskuze, nebo mělo by si dohloubky, kdo je Bůh a kdo jsou služebníci a nakonec přijde ta otázka, kdo je nejlepší služebník Boha, nebo kdo ho nejvíc těší, nebo kdo je mu nejmilejší a tohle je právě bod, kterým už hodně lidí, kteří souhlasí v tom, že Bůh je veliký, spolu nesouhlasí, že mají různé názory a i tady v Indii existuje mnoha skupin vajšnavských, kteří mají rozdílné názory na to, kdo je nejlepší, nejmilejší Krishnu.
So the question isn't, oh well, who's a greater devotee, like, oh, this person is bigger, they're better, and everything like this. The question is, who has Krishna and who can give Krishna? Because only love can capture Krishna. And so who has the greatest love for Krishna? And who is Krishna himself surrendered to? In other words, you've heard it and it's true. Love is greater than God himself. The love of Srimati Radharani captures Krishna and makes him subservient to her. So she is the supreme personality of Godheadess. You will find this written in Back to Godhead magazine in the 1950s. Prabhupada is calling Radharani the supreme personality of Godheadess. Not Godhead, but Godheadess. And this is significant because it's this one single point of the position of Radharani that sets us apart from every other branch of Vaishnavism in ancient India. The Madhvas, the Ramanujas, the Nimbarkas, the Vishnu Swamis, the Ballabhas. That single point sets us apart from all other groups. And that is an argument that is never lost, that is established, that Radharani, by Shastra, by Acharyas, by everything, by Leela also, very important, shows that she alone is Bhakti Devi. She alone is the master of the realm, or the mistress of the realm of devotion. It is her domain and it's her energy fully, and it is Srila Maharaj who brings this to the English language, thus to the Spanish language, the German language, the Russian language, the Czech language, and all languages after that. It is Srila Maharaj who brings this concept to us and presents Radhadasyam, the service of Srimati Radharani and her position as the highest attainment in theism anywhere in the universe. That is a contribution of Sridhar Maharaj. And to live without that composition is like to live with half a face or a half a body. There you go.
Takže ve zkratce, kdo je nejlepší služebník, kdo má největší lásku k Krišnovi, že ten, kdo má lásku, může dát a jak jsme slyšeli, láska je větší než Bůh samotný. Takže to je to, čemu se Bůh odevzdá, tomu, kdo má největší lásku, a to je ta pozice Srimati Radharani, kterou nakonec Bhakti Sridhar Maharaj předal celému světu, a to je ta jeho jako vznešená pozice, protože Srimati Radharani stojí nejvýš v tom služebnickém a té nejvyšší milostné lásce ke Krišnovi a ona umožňuje všem ostatním vlastně se spojit svým způsobem s Krišnou v té nejvyšší úrovni možnosti. Ti ostatní sampradáje, že jsou to Ramanuja, Nimbarka, Vishnu Swami, Savalabhas, všechno, mají jinou koncepci a to je to, co nás odděluje od jiného světa. Takže to je to, proč Srila Maharaja má tak speciální pozici, že se narodil se takový den po Rádhaštámi, že tohletu Rádhadásyam, že my vlastně sloužíme Rádharáni a jejímu konceptu, protože Krishna se odevzdá nakonec i Rádharáni a slouží, protože ona ho tak miluje. Je ta velice vznešená, hluboká věc, kterou my nosíme nad našima hlavama a které my sloužíme. Je to díky Sridhar Maharajovi, který to přeložil do mnoha světových jazyků a dal to do těch knih, že tohle je ta esence jeho učení. A kdo to nechápe, kdo to nezná, kdo to ještě nepochopil, tak neví nic a přišel do všechno. A je to jeho neštěstí.
Jai. Srila Goswami Maharaj ki jai. So thank you very much. Please take advantage always of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's guidance in the form of his books, lectures, videos, whatever is available for you. And you will prosper well in Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Gauranga, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare